Hola amigos, sean bienvenidos a un nuevo video. Y bien, es que acaban de subir otro tráiler de Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Que bueno, yo también creo que nada, es mentira. A ver, veámoslo. Ok. Five Nights at Freddy's 2.
I haven't really had a chance to talk to you about how I felt about the FNAF movie,
Que te ponen en la primera película. Esto es una escena donde Foxy persigue a...
which is weird because for a while that was pretty much all I did here on the Slurp YouTube channel. The truth is, Freddy Fazbear could have hit the gritty for 2 hours straight and I would have probably
Esto no es un tráiler. Yo pensaba que era un tráiler.
walked out saying, wow, that was cinema. In a roundabout way, that's me trying to say,
A ver. Pensaba que era un tráiler.
I haven't really had a chance to talk to you about how I felt about the FNAF movie, which is weird because for a while that was pretty much all I did here on the Slurp YouTube channel.
Todo lo que hice aquí en el canal de YouTube de Slurp.
The truth is, Freddy
La
Fazbear
verdad es que Freddy Fazbear podría
could have hit
haber
the gritty for 2
arenoso durante 2
hours straight and I
horas seguidas.
would have probably walked out saying, wow, that was
Salido diciendo, wow, eso
cinema. In a roundabout
de una manera.
way, that's me trying
Como una crítica a esto.
to say that I thoroughly enjoyed the FNAF movie, but I don't think it was perfect. Wait, put your pitchforks down. I know I've committed the cardinal sin. I just want to put it out there, just because you love something, it doesn't mean you
Dice publicarlo solo porque a él le encanta algo que...
can't also want it to be better. And I honestly think the team behind the first FNAF movie have a chance to absolutely smash the sequel out of the park if they address some of the main issues the first movie had. And that's kind of the point of today's list. I've been on the phone with the head of Universal Pictures and he's asked me to head over to Blumhouse to speak with Jason Blum, director Emma Tomei, and the main man himself, Scott Cawthon. No pressure. Okay squad, look, the higher ups at Universal are a little worried about that Rotten Tomatoes score from the last movie, and I want to see if we can turn that around for the sequel. Let's make a movie for the fans, yes, but also for the newcomers so they can understand the franchise we all care about so deeply. So today for you three I have 5 cheeky pitches that are gonna make sure we address the biggest flaws and criticisms from the first movie, as well as make sure this franchise has the long-term legs to be a cinematic staple for years to come. Yes, today for you, I have 5 pitches for Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Number 5. Adapt the gameplay. Everyone seemed to have universal praise
Todos parecían tener
for the opening sequence of the first Five Nights at Freddy's movie, and I genuinely think some of that comes from the fact that this was the closest the movie
fue la película más cercana
ever came to actually adapting
en
the premise and
la premisa.
gameplay that made FNAF famous in the first place. As FNAF fans who are so into theories and laws
Las teorías y leyes
that surround this
que están tan interesados en las teorías y leyes que rodean esta franquicia.
franchise, I think sometimes we forget this all started from a simple gameplay loop. And what's crazy is that this gameplay loop could actually be adapted to the big screen pretty successfully. I think why many video game adaptations often struggle is because it's almost impossible to take the element of what made the game successful or even just fun and turn that into a movie. But with FNAF, that shouldn't be a problem. Jason, Emma, Scott, what made FNAF so successful to begin with was the simple gameplay mechanics that genuinely created massively atmospheric tension and horror. The gameplay loop of checking security
Sí, puede ser, a ver. Creo que la película, no sé, no es tan difícil de adaptar. Por ejemplo, adaptar la película de Final Fantasy, o sea, adaptar Final Fantasy a una película. Pero en cambio con la película de Minecraft, pues creo que ahí sería más difícil.
Security cameras and managing limited resources should have been utilised far more in FNAF Movie 1. After all, the whole frickin' marketing campaign was based around the idea of, can you survive Five Nights at Freddy's? And did we ever really feel like the movie delivered on that premise? In fact, instead of delivering on this premise, our protagonist was sleeping on the gig.
Estaba durmiendo.
Yeah,
Y la verdad que sí, tienes razón.
it doesn't make this place or the animatronics feel very scary. So no, I'm not saying the entire movie should.
O sea, es verdad, como que básicamente en vez de que él estuviera ahí y los animatrónicos lo atacaran, pues eso no, eso nunca pasó, eso no pasó así como en el videojuego. Él estaba ahí y bueno, hay una escena donde, en la parte donde aparece Foxy, como intentando entrar a donde estaba él, pero seguramente eso, ay, se me cayó el micrófono.
Should have been this. Although, I mean, I think you could have at least made a case for making the first movie based on this idea. Nevertheless, it's a crime that the first movie didn't really ever present any survival horror. So, squad, we have a problem. Beyond the core fandom, after watching the FNAF movie, a lot of normies are wondering, what's the big deal about this franchise that all these people can't stop talking about? And yes, I know the fandom seems set on the fact that this movie is for them and it doesn't matter if anyone else doesn't like it, but I don't agree with that. I want to be able to show the FNAF movie to people so they can understand why we love this franchise. So squad, for FNAF Movie 2, let's include more of the actual gameplay. Let's create tension and ultimately make this movie feel more atmospheric and, well, you know, fun. Number 4, jump scares. Lads and lass, while we're talking about the gameplay, I've got to ask, what the
Pero algo que otra cosa que quiero decir de la película de Final Freddy's. Sí, la verdad que está bastante buena. Siendo sincero, está bastante. Sí, entretenida. Bueno, la 2. La 2 o no sé, parece que supongo yo. Supuestamente creo que la 2 seguramente se estrena. em, yo creo que la 2 se estrenaría en 2025 por el problema de la huelga de actores y escritores. Aparte vayan a ver mi video de mi canal secundario en donde les cuento del nuevo juego de Five Freddy's. Bueno, ahora sí continuamos.
hell was going on with the jump scares in this movie? I know you've heard this criticism before, especially you, Jason. I mean, am I right? Oh no.
Escuché por ahí una pequeña curiosidad que iba a ser Five Freddy's una película de animatrónicos gigantes. Nada que ver con... O sea, no sé si es verdad porque... creo que no, o sea, no. Yo creo que no, obvio, creo que ya sé por qué lo rechazó Scott Cawthon. Porque, o sea, ¿cómo va a ser que se trate el juego no el juego no tiene nada que ver con eso y no sé por qué lo harían. O sea, si hubiera tratado de eso, pues ya me imagino que hubiera pasado.
Nobody. Oh. Well, yes, I'm sure you've heard that people out there think jump scares in movies are overused, cheap, and lazy. And with that said, if there was one movie that could have got away with this, it was the frickin' Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I mean, we were all expecting a jump scare fest, right? What we actually got in the first movie was a handful of jump scares, and honestly, the best one was given to
Bueno, la verdad que no era tanto mal.
Balloon Boy. Fucking Balloon Boy got the best jump scare. And what upsets me the most about this is there wasn't even one particularly memorable jump scare, one that the fan base and audiences would really remember and discuss. I was fully prepared to be
Bueno, la verdad que puede ser que tengas razón con esto, sí. O sea, como que hay una parte donde Freddy se come la cabeza le arranca la cabeza a la niñera de Abby, pero no tanto bien.
discussing and debating which jump scare got me the most after I watched the film, and the discourse just never really happened. Let's just pretend I never made that video. Look, Scary Squad, give
También hubiera estado bueno que una parte, no sé, como que apareciera, no sé, un animatrónico y le hubiera gritado en la cara más aquí se pelea, ¿sí?
movie builds up to something and doesn't fully commit, or even worse, the movie just gets a little boring. What sets me the most about this is there wasn't even one particularly memorable jump scare, one that the fan base and audiences would really remember and discuss. I was fully prepared to be discussing and debating which jump scare got me the most after I watched the film, and the discourse just never.
Bueno, antes de continuar me gustaría que dejen su like y suscribieran a este canal y vayan a suscribir, vayan a este video, a este video de acá, y den like, porque bueno, este canal creo que se dedica a hacer trailers falsos, pero bueno, ahora que lo pienso, creo que se hace contenido de calidad, así que me voy a suscribir. Bueno, ustedes también suscríbanse.
Really happened.
Además creo que se esfuerza bastante en los trailers, o bueno, creo que no, porque saca fragmentos de otros lugares que nada que ver, pero bueno.
Let's just pretend I never made that video. Look, Scary Squad, given the nature of the FNAF franchise, we should be fully utilising jump scares. We've basically got a get out of jail free card when it comes to criticism on this. These scares are not just a hallmark of the series, they are central to its identity and fan expectations. Not to mention we have an opportunity to redefine the jump scare trope in a way that's both fresh and playfully subversive. These animatronics with their childlike, almost whimsical appearance subvert the usual expectations of what's scary. There's something inherently cheeky and unexpected about a colourful cartoon-like animatronic delivering a jump scare. It's not the usual graphic horror figure leaping out to scream. Like I said before, I ultimately think playing with jump scares a little more in the second movie will help make it more atmospheric and, well, you know, fun. That fun word seems to be coming up a lot, eh? Well, number 3, make it fun and make it scary. Okay, you still better have your pitchforks put to one side, because I'm not saying the FNAF movie wasn't fun. It was, in a few crucial sequences when the movie really gets into its groove and understands what it should be. It's freaking awesome. And a lot of the time, this is when the horror is actually working. The movie is scary in those moments, and that's fun for us in the audience. But there are other times when the movie builds up to something and doesn't fully commit, or even worse, the movie just gets a little boring. Ultimately, I think most of us would agree that the first movie is at its best when we are at the pizzeria with the animatronics, right? I'm firmly in the camp that believes it was a mistake to fully humanise the animatronics so early in the franchise, let alone in this movie. If I had full control over the movie, I probably wouldn't reveal that they were kids at all, but if I had to, I would probably keep that to right at the end of the first movie, almost like a twist reveal to the normies in the audience. Sequences like the fort scene completely neutered our main cast of animatronics and really removed any tension or horror attached to them, which is a shame because again, when the film was scary, it was actually at its most fun. I wish we could have had more sequences where our main human cast actually had to deal with and survive the animatronics while they were still threats. I can see you getting nervous over there, Blummy. I know you're worried about what increased horror could do to the movie's rating, and I understand that, and I want to work with you on this. I understand we're not going to be able to commit to full executions and bloodbaths, but come on, we've got to be able to creep up the tension dial just a little bit. Ultimately, it was kids that made these games popular in the first place, and I think it's fair to say that the video games are scarier than the movie itself. Surely they can handle a little bit more horror. So whether it's toy animatronics or withered ones, Mangle or Springtrap, whatever new animatronics appear in the sequel, let's make them actual threats, antagonists. Let the human characters fear them, so in turn, we as an audience do. If we do that, I think the movie is gonna be a lot more fun for both us as fans and the normies in the audience. Number 2. bring in a better writer. Many of the criticisms I've had for the first movie could be blamed on a variety of factors. The directing, producing, limitations set by the movie's age rating, but overall, if I had to point to one part of the filmmaking process that requires the most improvement for the sequel, it would be the script. There are numerous examples of how the script fails the first movie: inconsistent tones, goofy dialogue, abrupt changes in mood, and character motivations that just don't really make sense. I present you a moment just minutes after Vanessa has been building a fort with Abby and the animatronics.
You can do whatever you want with your own life, but if you ever bring Abby back here again, I will shoot you.
I just don't get it. Throughout this video, I have been pitching that the second FNAF movie should really try to incorporate more horror and fun into its story, and that's because I don't know if as screenwriters, Scott and Emma really knew the best way to do this for the first movie. And this ain't a dig at either of you. I mean, this is only your first screenwriting credit. I wouldn't expect you two to be geniuses at your first attempt. It's obvious that both Scott and Emma have a really good grasp on the lore and what they want to happen, but I don't know if they quite know exactly the best way to get that across in the most, entertaining way possible. So I'm not pitching to remove Scott or Emma as screenwriters on FNAF Movie 2. Instead, Jason, I reckon we should bring in another experienced scriptwriter to help them with the story. You know, just to kind of massage it into a better place. It's difficult because we don't really get a lot of these spooky family horror movies anymore, so there isn't a massive amount of experienced writers in this pool. Someone like Henry Selick would obviously be an amazing choice, but maybe a little hard to get. Same goes for someone like Chris Columbus, even though he'd be my personal choice. Then again, I'm not against bringing on someone who just knows how to write.
Sí, la verdad que estoy un poquito de acuerdo con las cosas que, la mayoría de las cosas que dice. Si ustedes qué opinan, pongan en los comentarios.
Successfully for more family orientated.
Si necesitarían otro guionista para FNAF 2 o que ustedes quieran que en FNAF, en la película de FNAF 2 tenga así más, sea más susto así de terror, hace mucho más, que tenga más terror que la 1.
Movies overall. Look, the goal isn't to dilute this film into a PG rated fest. Rather, it's about adding expertise to ensure the script is consistent and consistently engaging. This is about striking a delicate balance, maintaining the spine-tingling essence of FNAF, while crafting a narrative that's approachable and enjoyable for youngsters, as that's what you want, right, Jason? Number 1. Prequel, not a sequel. We've addressed many of the issues as
A ver, no una secuela ha abordado mucho de
to what went wrong at the most fundamental levels for the first FNAF movie, and I'm feeling positive that we are moving in a good direction for the sequel. And notice I said sequel there, because unlike the timeline orders of the games, FNAF Movie 2 must be a sequel and not a prequel.
Sí, la verdad que esto que dice FNAF, la película de FNAF 2 debe ser una secuela y no una precuela, y yo estoy de acuerdo porque supuestamente dicen que se van a basar en Final Fantasy 2 y Final Fantasy 2 es una secuela, una precuela de Final Fantasy 1. Y bueno, eso yo me gustaría continuar la historia que ya vimos.
Will someone calm Scott down over there? What's he yelling? Yeah, I know it messes with the timeline and the bloody lore, but didn't you do that in the first movie already? Thought so. General audiences are already a little bit confused about exactly why FNAF is so popular. Again, I know this movie is for us, the fans, but at some point we need to admit that for this franchise to succeed and to continue succeeding, we need the normies to be interested. We need to bring people in. You see, if they wanted to stick to the game's timeline and went for a prequel, I do think that a lot of normies would be confused if they went into a second FNAF movie and all of a sudden the main cast of characters we were following in the first movie were all gone. As fans, we're used to things being a certain way, but at the end of the day, this is an adaptation, and to make the movie story the best version of itself it can possibly be, this needs to be a sequel. I can imagine a lot of fans will be worried. After all, there's a lot of backstory and lore that a prequel movie could have the potential to tell, and that's true, but having the second FNAF movie be a sequel doesn't mean we have to negate this. I've been toying with the idea of making a full dedicated video about how exactly I'd make FNAF movie 2, but for now I'll give you a few basic ideas. Ideally, I'd like the sequel to kind of blend ideas from both FNAF 2 and FNAF 3, the video games, meaning the movie carries on directly where the last one left off, with a new pizzeria or attraction opening to host our spooky animatronics. Ideally, I'd like this to be Fazbear Frights. Again, without going into too much detail, I would like this to be contrasted with flashbacks from Vanessa's childhood, growing up with one William Afton. This would allow for us to see a fully operational Fazbear's Pizza place at the height of its popularity. I also think it would allow the scriptwriters to do a little work in fully exploring and building out Vanessa as a character, as I believe she was kind of underserved in the first movie. I like the idea of Vanessa, despite how hard it is, being the one who has to look back and deal with past trauma to help unravel a mystery leading them to Mike and Abby's brother, who is gonna be the puppet, right? And Scary Squad, we've got to remember, we've got Matthew Lillard for a free picture deal. We can't just chuck him behind the Springtrap mask and not allow anyone to see that beautiful mug on the
Como que está en inglés y que se traduzca y bueno, tengo que leer y bueno, pues también.
big screen, allowing Lillard to be fully present in the flashbacks and contrasting that against a rotten, decayed mess that he has become as Springtrap will allow him to do some fantastic work in the movie, and I just personally need to see that. And those are my 5 pitches for the second Five Nights at Freddy's movie. What did you think of my list? Have you got any of your own ideas for the sequel? Do you still want to ram that pitchfork through my chest? Leave any and all thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoy me pitching, listing and counting down movies, last week I put together a list of 10 animated movies you didn't know they were making, so that could be something you'd enjoy. I'm Connor from Slurp, and I'll see you in the next one.
Bueno amigos, eso fue todo. Díganme ustedes que están. Díganme ustedes en los comentarios qué opinan, si están de acuerdo con la opinión de él. Bueno, yo sí estoy algo de acuerdo que Friends of... Ay, me asusté. Sí estoy de acuerdo que Friends of Freddy 2 sea una secuela y no una prequel, porque lo quiero continuar la historia. Quiero continuar la historia. Y bueno, eso sería todo y nos vemos en el siguiente video. Adiós.